that, is it?
It shouldn't.
No, And like I said, I've had a lot of people like and comment, so I don't know why on your side you might be getting that.
Okay. And
I didn't check, but I
okay.
just made a new page, Riley.
Okay, hang on, guys, hang on, because we are now live. So,
Okay.
sorry, we were chatting, and I'm going to let you finish chatting, and if you'd like to, but we are live, just to let you know, because we're talking about private and public posts. So, let me get us started off. I just wanted to make sure we were live. If we have any audio problems or anything, somebody give me a tap like Ray did last time. But happy Wine Wednesday. I hope that your week has been fabulous. As always, your tanks are great. I hope your seahorses are swimming happily, and we're just glad to get together with you. I do have a couple of things to just, kind of tell you about, but tonight's open chat. So if you have any questions, if you have a topic you want discussed, if you want to jump in and share, tonight's the night. We've got a, okay, slow down, Kelly. All right, slow down. So happy Wine Wednesday. First off, I'm drinking Chardonnay in case you care. Let me know what you're drinking in the audience. My guests never drink with me. It's always just me. I miss a couple that what, oh my gosh, I'm rambling too quickly now. Who is the guy who actually has kept up with me? I can't think of the name. Oh my gosh. The forum guy. He was great. Dr. Fish. I just can't think of his. Okay. Now I'm looking like a jerk. And I'll have to look it up here in a minute. But he kept up with me. He was about the only
Well, I
one.
know Dan drinks his whiskey sometimes.
This is true, and I think Dan was going to try to be here tonight, but he's working really hard these days, guys. So you know, next week we have a really special guest, so watch for that post. It's going to be really exciting. I'm trying to keep it to myself until I get the post up, but I'm certainly very excited for next week. And so yeah, so tonight we're just gonna chit chat. Oh, one other thing I wanted to mention, for anybody who attends the Seahorse and Pipefish MACNA events, we now have really cool shirts, masks, and stickers online. So I'll have to put that link in the description when I'm done. And the really cool part is, first of all, they're cool shirts that I actually put the designs in each of the Seahorse groups and had people vote on them. And so the one that got the most votes is on the shirt, so it's your design too. And for every 40% of all sales go back to the group for like future MACNA tickets and things like that. So lots of cool stuff. So get a cool shirt and support the groups. Okay, I think that's it. I think I've rambled myself endless. Oh, the final really huge announcement, Holly, is, can we tell yet or?
I don't know what you're telling, but go ahead.
Well, the reason, a lot of people have asked me lately why I never show my seahorse tanks. Like I post pictures of my seahorses, but they're usually pretty close up so you can't see the tank. And to be completely honest, there are a couple of reasons for that. Well, I've told you in the past that I kind of combined to have fewer tanks because I had so many going, it was making me crazy. I took down the breeding tubs because that was just way too much work for moi. I'd love to go back to doing that someday, but it just wasn't good timing. So, anyways, I still have my seahorses, but I have them all in two tanks. And I mean, I don't have all of the seahorses, but my seahorses that I have are in two tanks, and they're all old. They're past breeding age. They're still happy and they're still doing good, but the tanks might not be so fabulous because I kind of went poo after my mom passed away, and then with COVID, it's just been, I just didn't take very good care of them. So I'm cleaning them up, and my reef tank is still up, and I'm cleaning that up. But the really cool thing that I decided to do, Holly wanted to get some practice with shipping, and I needed some young seahorses. I miss seeing them grow older. I miss seeing them court. I miss seeing all that good stuff. And so I am buying two seahorses from Holly, and they'll be coming in a couple weeks. So you guys, I'm gonna start getting the tank ready, and I should have already been doing that. So sorry, Holly, but
Get
um,
ready. Getting ready for you.
yes. So yeah, I'm gonna show you guys putting up the tank. I'm gonna show you guys getting. Holly's gonna show us shipping the seahorses in videos. I'm gonna show receiving and getting them together and getting them eating and all that good stuff. All those videos I promised long ago, I'm finally gonna do. So hey, At least we're doing it now, right?
Yes.
And Holly's going to get experience with shipping so that everybody can buy her wonderful seahorses. That would be great. And yeah, what's happened so far, Holly? Tell me.
So I made up a mock shipping box. I actually, I talked to you and Dan about shipping, in, some meetings that we had on Zoom. And then I started watching YouTube videos about shipping live fish and learned a few things. So I put together a mock box, including water and everything, just the way I'm going to ship it to you, only without the seahorses and without the heat pack because I didn't have them yet.
Right.
So I brought it down to UPS and gave them your address and everything and got an estimate of 3 different ways I can send it all within to arrive to you within 24 hours.
Nice.
So I got a estimate on what it'll cost to ship to you.
Yeah, and we won't say that out loud because
Yeah.
prices change, guys, too. So Anyways,
Yeah.
go ahead, Holly.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm ready there. My heat packs and shipping labels and everything just arrived the other day.
Nice.
So only thing I'm waiting on is the bags. I had some bags from my local fish store, but they're not the right mill. They're not the right strength that I want to use. So I'm waiting on those bags. I think should be arriving this week.
Nice.
They're 4 mil.
And after she's done,
I
she's
have
gonna
my
be
tool. I have my castration tool for that Dan told me about for
great
bear.
tip.
So I practiced that, and yeah,
And
I'm
once
ready.
once once we do this successfully, and I have no doubt we will, then then she'll be able to show anybody else who needs help with shipping, and get into it. Maybe, when you're just shipping one time. That's why I said we won't talk pricing, because shipping once is a lot different than when you get going, and they'll give
Yeah,
you
yeah.
different pricing. Hey Amy, hi Salty, hey Dylan's, hi Amanda. I think I messaged you, Amanda. I'm so glad to see you in here. Hey, Harkins, yes, or Chris, yes, bacteria, ASAP. I guess I shouldn't be announcing that I'm going to be like putting up a tank within a week or two, should I? Whoops. Listen, guys, the best way to do it is the right way. Take your time. It's just I've kind of been down this rodeo. Hey, Ray, curious, were you into shipping seahorses when you were doing them?
I had to use a local store. Um, this local store had an online presence where he was selling everything across Canada through an online store. So he would put the seahorses on the website, and then when he sold some, then I would drop them off in the bags already at his store, and he'd package them immediately and then ship them out. Here in
Nice.
Canada, for me to ship, I had to have an account with FedEx or whichever one that I wanted to ship with. But in order to get the account, first of all, I had to submit my packaging for testing.
Mm,
And if I passed the testing, then I had to guarantee a certain monthly amount.
wow.
Well, I just wasn't set up for that kind of thing. I
Right.
didn't have that much. And so this store did it for me. And of course, he took a percentage of it. But that was all right because he could ship them all across Canada for me. And because he was shipping all the time, and it was no problem for him.
So you lucked
But
out. Yeah.
to do it for me, just to go down and take a package down to a FedEx and ship it. If it's got liquids in it, can't do it.
Right. I know it. You're not wrong. Okay.
And
Well
FedEx
then,
here
what?
does require an account.
I'm sorry.
Here, FedEx does require you to have an account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went with UPS doesn't have that requirement. You can just bring them in. They do have requirements for the packaging, but not to have an account with them or anything.
Oh, everybody here, you got to have an account.
Wow.
well, other than the Canada Mail, the Canada Post, you don't have to have an account with them, but they won't take anything with the liquids anyway.
Right. Exactly.
Gotcha.
Ray,
And I
oh, go ahead.
think FedEx would be the best choice if I had more volume to
Yeah.
ship, is the thing. So that's why I went with UPS. I just don't have that volume to make it worth it. Yeah,
Yeah.
like you were saying, to do an account and all that.
You might soon enough. We'll
Down the
see.
road, down the road, yeah, but not right now.
If I
Um,
want to ship seahorses, well, I'm not shipping through this fellow anymore anyway,
right.
but shipping costs to ship one pair from London here to Victoria, BC, which is on the coast, on the west coast, 110, 115, depending on
Hmm.
where in the city it goes.
Yep,
That is
You
the
know,
really that's the really tough thing. I mean, that Dan talked
it
about it
is.
all the time is how, the seahorses, aren't even really the huge cost. It's the shipping. It's
Yeah.
I hope we figure out something about that soon. I really do, but
well, and that pricing is years old now too, because I haven't shipped any seahorses for about 4 years.
Hmm.
okay, Harkins and Dylan's, I see both of your comments and I'm going to address them in like 1 second. Any questions, guys, put them in there. It might take me a second, but I'll get to them. But I have to just say two more things real quick. Humblefish, that was the name of the guy who was able to hang and keep up with me. Humblefish Forum, guys, I've been slacking and not getting over there and doing much, but that's on my to-do list. I'm going to have to get back over there and start revving up the conversation there and putting up some of these articles. Also, because of my good friendship with her nanos reefs, excuse me, her nano reefs. I'm probably saying it wrong. She's gonna like knock me out. But anyways, her and I are doing a little helping each other, and so I'm working on getting the website up. Is what I'm trying to spit up out. So all these things that I've been telling you guys I'm gonna do, I'm finally getting them done. So yay for us. And so Humblefish was the name of, and go to that forum. And the other thing I wanted to mention is if you tuned in last week and saw the Sea Dragon episode, it was really cool. And because Steve wasn't really able to figure out how to angle the camera and stuff, I'm gonna always go to his page on Facebook and you can check out really clear videos of the dragons and all of the other cool things that they're doing over there at Ocean Reef Aquaculture. Sorry, blah blah blah. I'm tongue tied tonight. But the cool thing is, the person that the individual that he did sell sea dragons to, Deborah, has agreed to do a Zoom with me. Since we're on such odd times, she can't come to Wine Wednesday, but we're going to do a video. So watch for that, because she's going to literally walk me through. She's already sent me videos. Oh my gosh, you guys, this tank is amazing. The sea dragons are amazing. And anyways, we're going to do a Zoom and I'm going to videotape it and make a video to show you guys her setup and what it takes to keep sea dragons. So wanted to mention that because she's taking the time to meet with me, so I'm really happy. One final thing, I keep thinking of things I have to tell you guys. Sorry, Ray, I'm rambling. Women in reefing. First of all, make sure that you're following on Instagram and Facebook, because we're getting ready to do a lot of cool things. We're going to start featured articles and featured videos with some with anybody, any great woman in reefing, from the industry, from the science end, from the hobby. We're covering it all, and we've already got quite a few lined up, and you're gonna just love them. So make sure you're following so you can catch those. I don't think I'm allowed to say who the first one is because I didn't ask for permission yet. But if you're watching Miss Macro Queen, you know who you are, and I can't wait to talk to you Friday. Okay, hey Farm Boy,
Did
thank
you
you. Go ahead, Ray.
email Harkins so he could join?
Oh, did he want to? Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Harkins. I sure will right now.
Said I can drop in if you want.
Yeah, I thought, you know what? When I saw that, I thought he meant my house to help me with the tank. I was like, yes, please. But hang on, Harkins, I will get to you on Insta right now and give you that. And you got to keep it. It's the same one every week, dude. But where are you? Where are you? There you be. In fact, it's still in your it's still in your but I'll give it to you again. I know I'm kind of talking crazy to myself here. Okay, Chris, if you meant to jump into the Zoom, I've resent the link to your Instagram. So come on in. And again, thank you, Farm Boy. Thank you for the super chat. That's awesome. And so, yeah. So I'm curious. Like open chat, Ray. If you got something you want to say, feel free. Holly, you too. But I'm getting kind of excited. It's been a long time since I set up a new tank, and so I'm not going to give away everything I'm doing because I'm doing videos out of it. But and what tips do you guys have for me? Let's pretend like I'm the noob.
You know what you're doing.
So, I mean, let's talk about it.
Question
Yeah,
for
if
you.
you can't set it up properly by now, after all these
I know.
nights on these Wednesday nights, then there's just no hope anyway.
Right. Oh, well, that would be true, but I do always drink wine. So, no. Go ahead, Holly.
Hey, Kelly, I've been watching your videos, the Seahorse Whisperer videos
Yeah.
going way back. And I watched one the other day that was really cool. And it was about raising fry. And the people that made the video for you in the UK,
Oh,
their
yeah.
top team you referred him to. Who is that?
Tom Hornsby is
Okay.
a very good friend of mine. I mean, like the kind of friend that we still talk all the time. I think that has taken, just like Dan, I think he's backed up on seahorses, unfortunately. I know he's doing,
Lady talking. She was so cute.
which one?
In that video, there was a lady
I'm trying to
talking,
think
and
of which one.
she was like handling the seahorses and walking you through everything with the fry. And
Okay.
I'm just wondering who she is. Is she like a friend of yours too? Or
Well, now you're gonna have to send me the link because
it's your
I
own video.
I
It was a
know
year
that's pretty
ago,
sad.
I think you made it, but it was really cool. I enjoyed watching that one.
Well, now seriously, send me the link because I'll make sure to give credit to that person. I can't remember exactly which one we're talking about.
So she was with Tom's team. So I
Okay,
met, was
it's
it his wife maybe, or
that's what I would bet. His wife is very kind. She's a friend of mine too. I mean, like I really care about these people. They're so nice. The British people are so nice. Is British the right term? England, whatever. UK, I don't know all that stuff. Anyways, they are the kindest
She was
people.
just so sweet in that video. I really enjoyed it.
Cool.
They must be like Canadians.
Must be. Oh, speaking of Canadians, look, I'm all about the announcements. Supporting fellow YouTubers. This is my Reef Dude shirt. So, yeah. And he's the one that actually helped me make my dragon shirt that will soon be available again. But, okay, I know I'm jumping around, guys. I'm sorry. But, Harkins, if you're jumping in, jump in. And you're going to see those dragons, I promise, because this is going to be an amazing video. But, yeah, so I'm glad that you found an old video. I sometimes watch my old videos and I'm like, oh my gosh. Because there's like, especially when I first started, they're a little bit, and there's one that the guy that I had comments on that they were like, oh, your audio is terrible. I'm not subscribing now. And I'm like, oh,
No.
Oh well.
I saw you were the Seahorse police for a while too. I saw
Yeah.
that one.
Yep. I love that you watch them. That makes me feel great. And that's, I do need to.
Because it was hard for me to get them to come up. I have to really look for them.
I know. And that's
scattered here and there. And so it took me a while to find a bunch of them.
Well, and since Wine Wednesday is what we're doing the most of, it's like Wine Wednesday goes down pages. I know. And that's one, excuse me, that's one of the reasons that I'm excited to finally get the website done, because it'll have like the video individually by category with, just a brief, not like a big article, but a brief what it's about, and maybe timestamps and stuff so that they're more easier to find. But I need to revamp both the Facebook and the YouTube page. I know. If you guys saw my to-do list, what'd you say, Ray?
Harkin's waiting.
Oh, thank you, sir. Sorry. You guys got to tell me because I don't see you. Okay.
So I do have a tip for setting up your tank.
Awesome.
Do it now.
Well, you know what? Okay, this is I know, do it now. I mean, like seriously, it's gonna. I've been debating and debating on which tank to get. Like I did, I was gonna like order one a really fancy schmancy, use my stimulus and get that fancy schmancy, like to do
Uh,
the brand build or whatever. And then I thought, well, shoot, since I'm doing two, what maybe I should. What do you guys think? I'm thinking about doing an all-in-one. Since everybody asks all the time, can you do it? I prefer sumps. I really don't, not confident about it, but what do you guys think?
I don't like that idea.
She said, not with my seahorses.
So
Okay.
what is the all-in-one? What kind of filtration does it have?
It's where they have like a small section on the back that acts as a sump. Not big enough to be a
So it's
real
kind
sump.
of got a sump, like a partial sump.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
But I
I
don't,
say that could work, but it's got to be heavy duty for the seahorses, right? Otherwise,
absolutely.
you don't have adequate filtration.
Hey, Chris, what's your thoughts on that? Like all in ones for seahorses? And can you even, with an all in one, you can't even fit a skimmer, can you?
It just depends on what system you're gonna run. Like I don't know what tank size you're looking at. I mean, like I have a 135 all-in-one on the wall right over here. Um, and of that, I would say, like if I did the math, it's about a 120-gallon display with a 15-gallon sump,
Okay.
like equivalency.
Yeah.
So I mean, if that's like equivalent to you having like a 29-gallon sump, the amount of water volume that would go through it. Now, an all-in-one typically has a ton of like nitrifying bacteria media,
Okay.
but it just depends on what style you're looking at. I mean, like this is a clear for life tank. It's more in the direction of like fish. You know what I mean? Like it's not really. If you were having a reef tank, I would tell you it's probably not the tank for you. But if you want to keep fish, it's great. Which I know I generally put seahorses in the same kind of category as fish versus a reef because they're going to have very similar requirements in terms of the lower nitrates, phosphates, and the more nitrifying bacteria you can have, the better. But the way I like to explain it is kind of more like, you remember in like the early 2000s, like the wet dry filters were like all the rage. Well, a lot of these systems, like the Clear for Life, is really just a wet dry filter running.
Really?
So they're really great at nitrifying bacteria. I mean, when I run that tank, I currently have it down right now, but when I run that tank, I struggle to keep any kind of nitrates or phosphates in it because there's so much media in it.
Really? Well, I'm not even, and that's, I love your advice on style and tank. And the only reason, like I said, I'm not even comfortable with an all-in-one. I just know that's a question people ask all the time. So I thought, well, maybe I should see if if I can pull it off. And just to let you know, Holly, if I do something crazy like that, I have other tanks here.
Yeah.
Very worst case scenario, they get hopped into the other Seahorse tank. But
I'm surprised you don't have an old one already that you could throw up for them.
well, I was talking to Patty the other day, her Nano Reefs, and I've never done a real system. That's why I'm so excited to do this. All of my tanks are DIY, all of them. Like every single one of them. The sump is my sump on my 65-gallon has a personally made by Ronald Chinner's algae scrubber. That's really cool. I did a video about it. It's got two sides and it's really cool, but it's not pretty. And the sump is literally just a tank with the scrubber, the skimmer, the pump, and then it runs through UV. But I mean, it's not a sump. I've never had except for my reef tank. My reef tank, my friend Chris and Roxanne, my couple friend, they made me a sump, like glued the baffles and all that stuff, but that's still DIY. I've never actually gone out and bought a, pre-made sump or pre-made system. So I really want to this time. Of course, I
Yeah,
started seeing how much they cost, and I was like,
they're
whoa.
expensive. Yeah, the sumps, I have a couple nice sumps that, yeah, they're actual sumps. They're not the fish tank I made into a sump.
Right. See, all
Yeah,
mine are.
Ever had
So
they're
a
expensive, but they're
regular sump.
full.
Wait, Ray, you've always made your own too?
All I use is a plain aquarium,
Yeah.
because for me, all I'm using that sump for is to put live rock in it to augment the biological filter and to increase the water volume.
Right.
And that goes for all the years of my reefing. And so when I started, well, actually, I'm 19 years now since I started the Seahorses. And so when I started the Seahorses, I did exactly the same thing. Just I use a tank. Like I've got with my abs tank down there, 90-gallon tank, and I got a 40-gallon sump.
Yep.
All it is a tank. And
Well,
all the rest of them were 40-gallon tanks with 20-gallon sumps and no baffles.
yeah, see, that's how most of mine are. My 65 with the algae scrubber ends up having kind of like a baffle system because the algae scrubber has all these, drip
Yeah.
drop things. And then my reef does have baffles, but then my 90, that's why the 90 was out of function for quite a while, because I took Mike Herman's advice, and because I wanted the tank up very quickly, I literally used a I can't think of the word, Tupper, or you know what I'm talking about?
a brute, a brute.
Yes, kind of, yeah. And so it
Yeah,
ended
a
up
horse
leaking,
trough,
huh?
a brute horse trough. Yeah.
But it ended up leaking. Probably something I did, or the positioning, or something, because I'm not a DIY pro. But so, I mean, Chris, I'm kind of, my big fear is that if I even tried to do an all-in-one, like I would, like minimum, for anybody new watching, minimum is always 30 gallons for a pair of Seahorses, period. And I usually
Yeah.
advise that with a sump, just to give you more in the
So
filtration. But so I'm worried I would go bigger,
so
somewhat bigger on an all-in-one, but I'm afraid I'd end up needing to add a sump.
no. So like what I would tell you is like Clear for Life makes a 55 gallon, which I just actually got rid of my 55 gallon I've had for 10 years. But that system has about 15 gallons in the back, and it's about 40 in the front, but it's a wider tank. It's pretty narrow. It would only be about 12 inches of space in terms of depth for the animals, because you got about 5 inches of space that's the filtration area. My biggest thing is like, it's not so much concern about the tank size. It's with an all-in-one aquarium, you really just don't want to overwhelm the bacteria, right?
Right.
And your goal is to keep the material really low, right? So your nutrients. So
Oh.
That's kind of bad with Seahorses.
Yeah, see, that's my concern, is the skimmer. Like I
right.
know
That's what Mermaid's Reef said.
use a small sump on my 60 gallon. I had a smaller sump that it came with that was really ended up being too small, and I used a hang on back skimmer.
yeah,
And
see, I wouldn't
it wasn't
a-
enough. I had
I
to
wouldn't
get
actually run a hang on the back. So nowadays you can get like Toonsy or Tunes, depends on whatever pronunciation you like. They make a calm line skimmer, and for the tiny size of that skimmer, it is by far one of the most efficient skimmers I've ever run.
Really?
It pulls skimmate like crazy. Now, if you're gonna go with a sump, I would tell you to put in a filter roller. Like,
Really?
it might sound overkill, but if you really want to focus on keeping nutrients down, the easiest way to do that is just eliminate them, right?
Right.
So,
Well,
And
for
the filter
Seahorses,
roller, is that
the
is
nutrients aren't as bad as the things like the dissolved organics.
right? You're right. You're right. And
Which
is
is
the it is the roller thing? Is that the thing that literally looks like a toilet paper roll thing?
Yeah, and there's a couple of different manufacturers. You don't have to go like D&D makes one. They're one of the very first manufacturers, but you're talking like $300-400 for a unit. But Bubble Mangus and both Marine Depot, they make. I think, to be honest, like Marine Depot licensed it from Bubble Mangus or the same manufacturer. They're like between 149 and 199 kind of as a start. And I've seen people run them and then just have to take their skimmers out because they pull so much of
Right.
the organic material out that the skimmer just is almost useless.
Well, and that's the other thing. One more thing I gotta say, because hi, Lucy. I love when Lucy's able to join. You're awesome. And Lucy, what we're chatting about, I made the big announcement that I am, because all my seahorses are old fogies and I'm not cool like you and don't get new ones all the time. I am buying 2 seahorses from Holly. And she gets to practice shipping. And Kelly's finally going to make all those videos showing tank setup and getting the seahorses. Holly's going to take ship. Anyways, I'm repeating myself, but we're trying. I can't wait to see your comments. Hopefully you won't jump me too badly, but oh, her video's frozen. Okay, well if you do hear this, I'm curious what you think about an all-in-one. I was really considering doing it. Chris is talking me in and out of it because of the fact that everybody asks if you can do an all-in-one all the time. And I'm a sump girl, but Chris, I'm going to let you finish your talking now, but I also wanted to ask you if I say I just can't do it, I got to go with a sump. What kind of, which brand, where, I know nothing about buying a full system. Seriously. Like, I reached out to a couple of places to get a little more information, but I don't know which is best. I don't know what's what. I make my own usually.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, like, as pretty well known, like a lot of the Seahorse people are DIY like crazy.
Yeah.
That's their jam because they can, put in the more important features that matter to them, right?
Right. Oh, and I don't mean to interrupt, but I do want to say we all know that I'm going to end up with gorks and macros. So, like, I'm telling these companies when I'm reaching out to them, I don't really care about lighting, except for I will care about lighting because. So, go ahead. Sorry, Chris.
Well, I mean, I assumed you would end up with gorgs and macros. I'll send you plenty of gorg.
Oh, go ahead.
Beautiful ORA pink gorg. So
I'm getting with you afterwards and placing my order. Go ahead. Sorry.
So the biggest thing I would just say is like it doesn't. I hate to say this. It's just a box. Like it's just a glass box.
Right.
Most of them you're paying for a name.
Yep.
I personally haven't had tremendous experiences with a Red Sea tank, and I think for the money they're a little expensive. Water boxes are really nice tanks, but I don't know that you need that quality of glass with Seahorses. I mean, you're talking about like a lot of their systems are sapphire glass, and
I have an SCA. My 90 is an SCA, and the thing is, the glass is like 1.5 inches thick or some craziness. Like to lift it up onto the stand we made, DIY over here, it took 3 guys. So go ahead. Sorry, interrupting you.
Yeah, I mean,
It probably
There's a
would
lot
have
of-
only taken 2 ladies, so
What?
it probably would have only taken 2 ladies.
Well, that's true,
to lift
but
it up.
so you don't have a favorite, Chris? You just
you don't know this, and I'm sure the audience doesn't know this. So I sold the service business 2 weeks ago, almost going into the 3rd week. But I have always been super pro acrylic, and the reason is it's really easy to fix.
I've never had an acrylic tank ever.
I have acrylic tanks and sumps.
Really?
I have a couple crystal sumps. They're acrylic. I love them.
Well, that's the other
crystal
thought. I don't mean to keep interrupting you, Chris, but that's the other thought. I'm so excited about doing this tank. But the other thing I thought about doing possibly is I do have tanks all over. Most of them aren't drilled, but a couple are. And I could just do the sump if that would be Like I'm really worried about doing another DIY sump on my own because of the leak the last time. That sucked.
Yeah.
So.
And I get that. Like, there is a certain level of like, where did I mess up when something happens to something you made, right?
Right.
So I mean, if you are looking at acrylic, Clear for Life has been around forever.
Okay.
I mean, the 135 I have is 12 years old.
Wow, that's great.
It's no leaks, nothing. I mean, we had water in it. Out of that 12 years, probably 10 of it, it's had water in it. So it's gone dry and then in and out of being wet a couple of different times.
Nice.
And like I said, it is fixable. You know what I mean? Like, if you do scratch the material, you just need to get some sanding material for it.
Oh, I have a question for you, Chris. To get scratches out of an acrylic tank, what do you use?
Inside or outside?
Either way, let's go both. what would you do specifically?
So if it's outside and it's occupied, with water in it, I recommend a product called Novus, and it's a 3-stage system. So they have like a deep scratches, minor scratches, and then a polish. So it's like literally just, and then I keep like Novus.
Is it Novus? How do you spell?
US or AS? I'm not 100% remember. Like if you go on Amazon and you search acrylic tank removal or repair, it's normally one of the top ones that comes up. So like, and you kind of use the material as it says. So there's like a deep scratch, a minor scratch, and then just like so it's like 3, 2, and 1.
It's
So
US.
it even tells you. It even has it in order.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So unless you have big scratches, don't use the third one, like the super aggressive one. You could just use the other one. And then I keep a bottle of that one. That's like what I clean my tank with all the time. Is just the cleaner.
I think I'll stick with my glass tanks.
Right.
Most of mine are at least 25 years old, and I haven't had to do any scratch removal on them.
Have true.
Yeah. It's 100% preference thing. It depends. Like if you have a reef tank, people are notorious for putting sand in that glass real commonly because they're scrubbing it more often.
Well, that's what all my tanks used to be. They were all reef tanks from back in the early 90s. And before that, they were freshwater ones because I switched, I think it was Christmas of 92. The kids gave me gift certificates because every time I come back from holidaying down south, I'd go diving on a reef down there, and then I'd come back all enthused and going to switch over, but I never ever did. Kids got fed up with listening to me, so they give me gift certificates to get into it, not realizing that the gift certificates were just a drop in a bucket for expenses to getting into salt.
And look, it lasted you for years and years. And I'm gonna stop interrupting you here, Chris. But I wanted to say, Sean Shore purchased a clear. Am I saying it right? KLIR roller.
Clear, yeah, that's
clear
that's
roller.
The Coral View.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious, Sean, if you love it, and everybody in the comment section, again, if you have questions about seahorses, feel free to ask. It's open chat. But if you're just here to hang with me, then I'd love to hear your opinions. Do you think I should go acrylic or glass, all in one or sump? What should I do? Please believe when I told the significant other that I was putting up another tank. Well, he didn't come home for 3 days. I'm just kidding, but. I have to take all of the empty ones down and get rid of them. So I might be selling some tanks soon too. But yeah, give me all your opinions. What you guys want to see me do? If you want me to test something out, I will. Of course, with these backup tanks to put Holly's precious loves in, safety if need be. But definitely want all of your opinions. And Holly, you weren't finished with your question. You wanted to know inside too, right? Sorry.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, so inside, I would tell you you probably have a pretty decent scraper for your glass, I'm assuming, right? Either that or a mag float.
I use magic eraser
Okay.
actually to clean.
So what I would tell you then is get like a magnetic scrubber and some sandpaper. And you kind of just work your way up. I'm actually doing it right now. I got a 220 gallon system, but it's not occupied. So I mean that's obviously the difference. And then if you are going to sand with creatures in there, run a sock, a really fine sock, like a 10 micron or an 8 or a 5. They're harder to find, but Blue Life normally has them in stock pretty much all the time. And just put that in your overflow section.
Do you use like a really fine sandpaper? Like, do you know like what number? Because they come in numbers, right? Sandpaper does.
So it depends on how bad the scratch is, right? So if it's a pretty minor scratch, I would say you could start at like 600 grain.
Mm-hmm.
And then it depends on like how far you want to go, right? And how much of the tank you want to do. Because if you're doing a section this big, you may only want to take it to 800 or 1,000. But if you're going to do the whole pane, you might want to take it to 2,000 or 3,000.
Uh-huh.
I typically take my tanks down to 2,000 or 3,000 grain grit. So they are super crystal clear after a 2,000 or 3,000. But I don't think it's really necessary. Like you might be able to get away with 1,000 or even 600.
And see, for me, I mean, not all sides of my tanks are viewable, so I'd only want to do, the viewing area really.
The front panes, yeah.
Matters to me.
And that may be all you need. But for the outside, I would say do your outside after you're done with your inside, because you may, in the process of polishing the inside, scratch the outside, and then you'd be real upset you've already done the outside.
Yeah, Dylan's little hobby said glass, and you guys are scaring me now. Away from the acrylic, doesn't sound like. Oh my gosh, I'd scratch it all heck.
Well, until I had the acrylic, I had glass. I used glass tanks for years up until I had the acrylic. But what I find with the glass tanks is when I have to store them, when I'm not using them or whatever, stuff happens to them. They get cracked, they get messed up. So the acrylic tanks have lasted me longer.
Interesting.
For that reason. They're just tougher. I'm hard on tanks. It's not them, it's me.
Right.
Hey, a glass tank.
You know what I just thought?
Drop it, when you're unloading it from the truck or whatever, you're done.
True.
You know what I'm saying? Yep.
And I just realized, who Chris, don't leave yet. I got one more question for you, a couple more. But I should Mark Levinson, Me Loves Reef, has said he would come on Wine Wednesday, and I wish I would have brought him tonight because he'd be perfect to talk about sumps and stuff. I should have. But Chris, just in case you do have to go soon, what's up? Why'd you sell the business, and is everything still good? I mean,
so I will just say, I got.
Yeah, if you can't say, sorry, go ahead. Sorry,
I got an offer I couldn't refuse. From one of my existing employees, and so it was I knew it'll still be taken care of, so
nice.
I'm not overly worried about it, and I retain the name, so
good.
It's gonna go by a new name, and so
is Harkins Aquatics, you're still, like you just said, I've still got Gorgs. Are you still in business, just not in that business? Or if I'm prying too deep, you can tell me, let's talk about something else. I'm gonna take.
Um,
Oh, go ahead.
No, so we are not a fish service company anymore. I'm essentially just my own individual entity.
Got it.
So that doesn't mean we won't be doing stuff. It just means we won't be doing aquarium service.
Gotcha.
So,
Well,
I'm still excited.
I'm excited and happy that you're my friend. So there we go with that. I get to know and get the cool benefits anyways. Just kidding. Just glad you're my friend.
So the one thing I am allowed to do that was not included in our contract is I'm still allowed to consult. So so if I can do fish tank consultations and stuff like that.
Now, what is a fish tank consultation? I'm curious.
So you know how you're having I don't know what type of tank to get. I don't know what kind of sump I want. Well, I'll come to you. I'll get an idea of what you want, and then I'll bring you a presentation down to how it'll be plumbed in your home.
Nice.
So that's something a little different that I'm going to kind of maybe lean into. I'm not actively pursuing it. It's kind of what you get when Mr. Saltwater Tank does your tank.
Gotcha.
Right?
Well, that's the other thing. Like, you're talking about all this stuff. That's something I seriously might consider too. If you're watching this and you're somebody in Indiana and you or because I'm pretty sure that the reason that my 90 sump leaked was because I plumbed it not perfectly. I'm not a plumber. So anyway, sorry, Chris, go ahead.
No, you're all good. Yeah, so it's just something a change new, you know. I think financing is really great for a new business owner right now. So I think he may have seen the opportunity and just had to jump on it. And
you're happy, I'm happy, they're happy, good.
Yeah, and it kind of actually frees me up to do more stuff like this, which is exciting too. So,
hey, real quick, I want to say, I'm sorry, Sean, if you're still watching, and you're the one with the clear roller, I sent the question, but I didn't see a response. Just, I'm curious if you would run it on a Seahorse tank, if it would take care of the issues that you run into with nutrients and with organics in a Seahorse tank. And I really wasn't trying to pry with the other question. It was just that I'm trying to reach Amanda about sea dragons because of a Steve thing. So, and don't forget, guys, that sea dragon video is coming. Go ahead, Chris. I know I'm jumping around. Sorry.
So, Clear has been around for a while. One of the cool things is it is Hydros integrated now.
Ooh.
So if you are kind of looking for a controller, it is one of those things you could add to the controller, and it will actually kind of tell you a lot about what's going on, how often it's coming on. If it's not working, it'll send you alerts and stuff like that. So that's kind of one of the perks of adding that integration with the Hydros, because it is a CoralView product. They're both CoralView products. They're trying to do a lot of integration, which is great for the hobbyist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It requires a little bit of advanced setting, but it's definitely easier than coding in Apex.
Well, you're gonna have to start doing Zoom consultations, and I'll hire you. But no, seriously, that's the other thing I was talking with Patty about is, I'd love to get into all of those things just to test them, because people ask all the time, do I need a controller, or do I want acrylic or glass? I want to test these things so that I can answer them, from experience and have videos on them. But like with a controller, in a Seahorse tank, all I really care about is temperature, right? I mean, what else as far as a controller goes, I'd love to be able to control the pumps and the power heads and all that together, but the actual controller is more about probes and all that, right? Or am I wrong?
I mean, they even have a version now of the Hydros that is called a Sense, and its entire job is just to do Sense. So like temperature probe, Control 2 has drive ports, so if you wanted to control pumps, you could control pumps from it. But probably you could get away with just running a sense, like the basic sense setup at $199. It's
Not
a
bad.
temperature controller. It has a 4 powered outlet. It has 4 sensing ports, so you can sense different things like a clear roller. You can sense the temperature. They have 2 different temperature probes. One that's like meant to be like submerged always, and one that is meant to be just kind of like a traditional like probe style.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's, you'd be amazed. There's level sensors. If you're going to put a skimmer, you can put a skimmer shut off so that your skimmer doesn't overflow. You can run an ATO off of that. So at $199, you can do a lot of stuff with it. So
Nice. And Mermaid's Reef is in the comments backing you up. And I'm interrupting again, I know, but Holly, what are we doing before I go back to Chris?
It's the last meal time for the juveniles right now. My teenies, I call them, but they're not so teeny anymore.
Now, my 2 are in there, right?
They're in here, yeah. I've got 13 of them left in here. So right now is their dinner time.
Well, we're all watching you, and I
You can see them if it's far away, but
it's still cool. People can zoom in, and that's the one. That's what I oh my gosh, I missed the juveniles. I'm not gonna go whole hog and start breeding again because I just can't. We're moving soon. Maybe when we move, I might, but I just miss that so much. My seahorses are all trained and they're not boring. They're still awesome and amazing. Don't get me wrong, but I hope you never go through what I've gone through in that, like I sent seahorses to friends, I sold seahorses, and now I'm like, wait a minute, all my seahorses are old. I don't have any more youngins anymore. I wasn't smart enough to keep youngins.
yeah,
And
I don't have any fry right now.
oh,
And so, I'm kind of, half of me is enjoying the break.
right.
No, I might get a break because it's very labor intensive raising them. It's like 5 months of prison with the seahorses, basically.
Or having a real baby.
I enjoy them. I really
Just like
enjoy
keeping
them.
dwarfs,
So
Holly.
am I going to have more coming soon? Because now it's spring, and I do have, the ones that are grown up now. We're probably going to want to get started having kids. So,
Well, I just think I think you're really smart to keep some of your juveniles and continue keeping, younger and younger. And you and Dan have talked, and you'll get into, figuring out the genetics and the F1 and all that crap. But I just think you're smart because, like I said, I got to the point where now all mine are old, and what'd you say, Ray?
So I was just telling her that it's just like keeping dwarfs.
Right. That's when people come to me to ask if they want, about keeping dwarf seahorses. In fact, Holly or Patty is wanting to start a seahorse tank too, and she was wanting to do a small tank with dwarfs, and I'm like within 10 minutes of talking to her, she's going with larger species now, or not doing it because dwarfs are like fry. The video that Lucy helped me make, I'll have to try to find that and link it for sure. And Sean, thanks for the answer. Go ahead, Chris.
You have to have small food for them always.
Yes,
So it's,
live food.
It is an always thing. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like, I would encourage you to look, and maybe we'll do a consultation. Maybe we'll do that for an episode if you want to do that. But I'll get some details from behind for you just to kind of to see, what the process is like, and then how to make it. I always look at it at a different perspective than most people because I've been doing service for so long that I'm like, how can I make this as easy on the customer as possible, right?
Right.
Down the road. So whether that means they only have to touch it once a week, if they have to touch it once a month,
Right.
like these are things I like to learn from people, you know.
Yep.
Obviously,
And I
the
will get with
seahorse.
you on the side too, but go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're looking for different things. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like some people, when they come to me, they go, "I don't ever want to touch the tank." I'll go like, "Well, that's a little harder." You know what I mean? So
Yep. And hey, I think I just sent that message to Sean. Amanda, I see you're the one watching too. But just, yeah, if you guys ever want to jump in and show us your tanks and systems and show us your beautiful babies and seahorses, we welcome you. We welcome anyone who wants to jump in and share always. But, anyways, sorry, Chris, were you still talking? I keep interrupting you. I'm sorry. It's my Wednesday.
no, yeah, you're all good.
So, but yeah, I will
I
get with you on the side, and anybody who has suggestions, feel free to message or comment after the video because I can't wait to have young seahorses again and go through it again. But I also want to make sure that I do the videos this time around with the setup and etc. for anybody new. And if you guys want something tested, this is the time. You feel
yeah.
me?
So this is the setup of sanding a tank that's dry.
Now
So
what?
this is the 220. I'm actually out in the
Oh,
backyard.
wait, are you showing me now? Hang on. I still have Holly up. Hang on. Hang on
Yeah,
1 second.
I am.
Holly,
Big.
Holly, you're going small again. Hang on. We'll come back to you. But oh my gosh. Wait a minute. Chris, give me 1 second because I'm looking at these beautiful babies. That one's
No, it's
mine
all
and
good.
that one's mine. Okay. All right. Now we're going to Chris. But they're beautiful, Holly. You're doing such a great job. Okay. Replace spotlight with Chris. All right, Chris, what are you showing us?
So this is a 225 gallon. I call it almost a cube because it's a rectangle, but it's pretty close to a cube. It's 35 by 48. So this tank needed like major restoration. It's never been actually polished out, and it's 5.5 years old, and it was not well taken care of. But this is what it looks like when it's dry, and this is what you're trying to get out of the tank with your filter media.
Wow.
So that's why I'm saying you need real fine filter media.
Because why? I'm sorry, I was listening, but I was trying to get the wine glass off. Can you say it again?
No. So
It's
you just need a
clear.
really fine. You need a really fine filter media because this is almost like talcum powder. Like
Okay.
that's how fine it is.
Okay.
So that's the biggest thing is just making sure that you're getting it out of the system. Obviously, you don't want the animals to be endangered by it.
Right.
So, and if that's the case, like I'd recommend, like you're probably looking more at like a sump if you're going to do an acrylic tank because you're going to need to run socks that are that fine.
Gotcha.
And these are the kind of socks you throw away.
Wait,
Like,
or
then
a
to
roller,
cut.
right?
No, so what I'm saying is if you're going to do acrylic and
Okay.
a sump, I recommend to do a sump because then you can run that super fine sock.
Okay.
The
Gotcha.
rollers generally come in like 250 to 100 micron. It just depends on who the manufacturer is. So they're not going to pull that kind of fine mesh off. So then you'd end up having to go to like your second. Most people are running a like Herbie overflow. So you're going to be actually using your like emergency drain to flush it through a sock.
Gotcha. I'm just gonna have to get with you after on the side so you can actually walk me through all this crap. I'll pay you, don't worry. But hey, do you want while you're
I didn't realize you could remove the scratches with them in the tank.
Yeah, that's
I
crazy.
figured, yeah, you'd have to do it when the tank was dry.
Once an acrylic tank is typically set up, I never empty it again until it's time to replace it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you can actually do it with animals. I had a customer and we did his tank, and like 3 months later he has a fish only with live rock, so a Fowler tank.
Uh-huh.
But he runs very large tang and angelfish, and angelfish have bone spurs on them.
Uh-huh. So
And
they were scratching the tank.
they scratch the tank, but they
Oh,
will
shit.
scratch a glass tank. So when people tell me like, hey, I ask them like, what is your stock plan?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Is there fish that's in your dreams? Like, because typically that's like, you ask somebody if there's a fish of their dreams, eventually, you know, once they've got a stable system, they're going to go looking for that fish, right?
Yep.
So,
you are to the
I tell
reef
them,
world
like,
what Dan is to the seahorse world, for sure. Hey, I just wanted to mention before we get on chatting, Chris, and I know I'm interrupting you again, but you're still big. Did you want to show us anything else, tanks or anything, or no?
No, I don't have anything else.
Okay.
You can put me back to small.
Okay, sorry. I didn't figure you wanted to stay big if you weren't showing. Sorry. Okay, go ahead now. Continue.
No, so like I said, like we always look at like, hey, what's your dream fish? Like, we had client with 2 peppermint angelfish. So you're talking like the most expensive fish probably you could currently have in the hobby. But it's like, I need to know that when we design your system, so that we design the right system for you. Because if you're going to have $50,000 worth of fish in your fish tank, let's be prepared for the $50,000 fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
You know?
that's great that you do that. This tank I actually bought from someone like you. That's what he does, is he designs and maintains systems for like people's homes and businesses. And he had a fish store, and I sold him my first batch of babies. And, I mentioned to him I was looking for a grow out tank, and he's like, well, I have a bunch of tanks at my house if you want to take a look. So he literally had probably about 100 tanks in his storage, all different kinds. So, he's like, well, what are you thinking? What is it you want to do? So he was able to steer me the right direction. And this tank was actually, it used to belong to Scripps in La Jolla,
Yeah.
the public aquarium. And we have no idea what they used it for. It was kind of strange, but it's huge, really thick acrylic, almost 2 inches thick. And I really like it for what I'm using it for. It was perfect.
That, I will tell you, was probably a cold water tank.
Wow.
And what's that? Can you explain what that is?
Yeah. Hey, and Chris, I'm going to interrupt to
So
ask.
it's
Can you?
a lot like this
Yes.
wide with an overflow box, and we couldn't figure out any fish would easily fit through that.
Can you show it, Holly? Are you able or no?
Yeah, let me see. It's hard on the computer for me to see what you're seeing. Let me see if I can get it over there.
I know, but Chris might know this, and we've been debating this forever, Chris.
So here's my overflow. Can you see it's a big slot that I had to cover?
Oh.
And then
yeah,
it goes down this big drain. See that?
You did perfect.
Yep. So I would say it was probably a cold water tank, because you actually use really thick acrylic, because unlike glass, acrylic's actually a very good insulator, right?
Oh.
And it's 90 gallons, and it's out of California. My guess is it was at once probably a Garibaldi system.
A what?
Which,
Yeah, what's that?
Garibaldi.
Yeah.
So
is that a kind of a fish?
It is. So Garibaldi is the state fish of California.
Oh, see, I live here and don't even know that.
It's a ginormous orange damselfish. So like, if you know what a damselfish is, multiply the size by 20. And
so too big to fit through that slot then.
Much too big to fit through that slot. But it has a requirement of cold water. So you would want thick acrylic to keep the chiller from having to work so hard.
Be good also, for abdominalis. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Also, you're doing that too, because if it's a display tank, for an example, if it's thinner acrylic, you'll get condensation on the outside because the humidity is higher inside the display area. So if you get below the dew point, which if they're seasonally cooling it, could be as low as 39 degrees, I think.
Oh, wow.
It'd be pretty easy to get condensation on that outside glass if you had a glass system.
Yeah, that is cold water.
I've scuba dived in California, in Southern California, and in the winter, and it was 31 degrees in the water.
Wow. Yeah, our
So,
water is cold.
Below freezing,
But
technically,
geez.
but it's salt water, so it doesn't freeze.
You're nuts.
Right.
Yeah. You know what? You see some crazy stuff in the winter that you don't see in the summer, and then in the summer you see stuff that you don't see in the winter.
Very cool.
True. That's I'm dying to tell you guys who our guest for next week is, but I'm waiting for the post. But it's someone who would have that experience. I can tell you that much.
Oh, so one of the cool things about Garibaldi, I'll kind of tell you this, is an adult is just an ugly orange fish. Now, a juvenile Garibaldi is an orange fish with blue sparkle.
Ooh.
So yeah, but it's
I'll
also a
have to look
fish.
them up now.
I know it. I feel it. If I was better with the computer, I'd Google it and show everybody. But yeah, we're not.
Yeah,
gonna try
so
right
it's a very cool juvenile fish. But if you run into a couple of them, watch out for their mom or dad because they will bite you.
Oh wow.
And like I said, it's like if you've ever been nipped at by like one of those little blue damsels, just multiply its size to a very small grouper. Like he will bite you.
Yeah.
So, but they are actually protected species. So I've only ever had one in 2 systems. Because they're a protected species, and those 2 systems were actually used for education.
Nice.
The only way you can actually get a permit for collection is if it's for education. So
I think that's good when they're protected.
Yeah,
I mean, there's not a lot of states that have ocean connected to them. So
I found it. It's on my phone, so there it is. Oh, there we go. I have to tilt it the right way. So that.
Big old orange fish, pretty with blue and adolescent. Nice. Hey, breaking conversation, but I want to make sure we do not forget, because I'm always forgetful, wine. I know we're still chatting about big orange fish and my new tank and my babies that Holly just showed. But anyways, Dylan's, I know it wasn't a question, and I know we've talked about it before, but he's dealing with aptasia. And I saw you said you were getting the peppermint shrimp. The only thing I can say about that, it worked for me. That's what did end up working for me. But I think I've told you before, but I'll just say it again. My tips and tricks are, number 1, make sure you get the right species. Number 2, oh yeah, I got my nails done. Aren't they pretty? Number 2, wine. Number 2, if the vendor won't do it, if they think it's like mean or something to not feed them, like I would literally, at my store, I said, don't feed them for the entire day. Let me have them hungry, because you want them hungry, especially, well, I don't think you have a Seahorse tank yet, right? I can't remember. I'm sorry, Dylan's. But in my tank, which was Seahorses, if I had put those peppermint shrimp in and fed the Seahorses 3 times that day, the peppermint are scavengers. They're going to eat the food before they go and scavenge for the aptasia. So put them in hungry, and if the store won't do it or the person you're buying from won't do it, Chris, you're nodding. Would you like put them in like a separate tank or something to keep them for a day and make them hungry, or is that mean, or what?
you could just put them in a isolation system. So like put even like in the tank, but separate from the animal. Like
yeah.
like
Like a
a
breeder thing or
Yep.
something, breeder trap. Or...
yeah, like a acclimation box, but just one of the ones that's not overly you're not like feeding them directly.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yes, because that's the key. You got to get the right species. And every time I've seen someone say peppermint shrimp didn't work for Aptasia, they either got the wrong species. I mean, sometimes it's just a fluke. I'm sure, but then the other
Sometimes
times they weren't hungry. You know.
sometimes they get camel shrimp. Um,
Right.
they're just collected and they look pretty similar except for their back. Um,
There's a
so
good article
you know,
somewhere. I'll try to find it and link it when we're done. I really will.
I'm pretty sure Milev has an article about it.
Milev,
But
okay. And Dylan
but
said
what
he
I
does
would
have
tell
seahorses in the
you
tank. Okay, so yeah, definitely you know how we feed seahorses, so put them in and go ahead.
Aptasia
Go ahead,
eating
Chris.
nudibranch.
Now, see, he asked about
Then
that and we talked about it a few weeks ago. And the thing is, I tried nudibranch myself. I actually called, I meant to look up the dang company and I didn't, but I will this time, I promise. Um, but this company that I called was really helpful, so good at explaining everything. He told me how many I needed for my tank size. It was like a family run business. He was so great. You probably know who I'm talking about. But anyways, they were wonderful. And he really explained to me, like, you can't just buy one. And, you know, once they eat all the Aptasia, they'll die or starve or whatever. Go ahead, Chris.
Yep. Yeah,
But
so
that's
it is
it.
one of those things where like you need a proper amount of them for the amount of problem you have and the size of the tank because they got to cover. They don't move real fast or far. Um, so
And
hold on one second.
that's why I it didn't work for me. I didn't end up doing it. I did one tank and it didn't work, and I didn't end up doing it when I got the good information from this company because he even agreed with me. The gentleman that I was speaking to even agreed with me. It just takes so long, and with seahorses, you know, with adult seahorses, it's not as big of a deal as if you're dealing with dwarfs. But I saw my female get stung in the face, and she was really pissed for weeks. And thank God she didn't get a bacterial infection or anything, but it could have happened. Ray, have you ever dealt with Aptasia?
Not in a seahorse tank.
Lucky son of a gun. But
In reef tanks, I had one 90-gallon tank that ended up with a pile of them. So I was a bit unorthodox. I got my hypodermic out and got my muriatic acid, and I zapped them with that, and just do a few at a time. But I'm guessing now that's a long time ago.
well,
But
they have like
it,
Joe's
it was
juice now.
probably about 3 or 4 months, and then eventually it just got to the point I never ever had another one in that tank again.
And that's so cool. But that's the first thing I tried. Not I can't say it. Not acid.
muriatic
Muriatic.
acid.
Yes, thank you.
That's
But
what
I
you
did
put.
People use
try.
lemon juice.
I tried lemon juice, and I got 50 more. I tried Joe's juice. I got 20 more. I tried Aptasia X, 30 more. I called the slug guy. Sorry, it's wine. But
Oh,
and the peppermint shrimp work. Tell me, Chris, why you advise the nudibranchs.
they're effective, and to be honest, they lay eggs typically after and during the process.
Oh,
And so, if in your local club, and they'll hatch pretty easy. They're pretty, um, and even if so, say they hatch eggs, and then you have a bunch of them, you collect them up, and then you just post them on your local, forum, and somebody's got Aptasia, and they're willing to pay you $10 or $12 a piece, or even if you got a ton of them, sell them for $5 a piece, you'll make your money back.
true. But and Dylan said that he either is getting or is going to get or has the seahorses from Melissa, and she gave him the same advice. Peppermint shrimp, I'm assuming. So,
I have
you know,
shrimp and I never see Aptasia.
right.
I saw one. There was one living, and I didn't know it. It was probably there for a while. I put my reading glasses on one day and saw it.
Yeah.
So it was living literally under the feeding dish in my display tank, probably for a while. And then one day I saw it. I scooped it out because it was actually not on a rock, not on the glass. It was in the substrate.
Oh wow. Oh, you got lucky.
It out with a Dixie cup,
Nice.
and now my husband has it for a pet. And then in another day, and then I found a teeny baby one on one of my sponge filters way back in the fry tank.
Mhm.
And I used a business card, and I scraped it off the sponge filter carefully and gave him that one too. And they
Wow.
didn't they didn't make more. Those are the only ones I've seen. But I do have peppermint shrimp. So it may be, that they might show up in my tank and then get eaten or something, but I never see them now.
Right. And actually, I just want to shout out a couple names. Inland Mermaid 173, I believe is her Instagram name. We've been talking lately, and she's been talking about she wants to get some more seahorses. She has a beautiful pipefish, dragon face pipefish, and she does have clowns in the tank, but it's working for her. And she had seahorses, and she was trying to figure out what the problem was. And then she showed me an aptasia. And I'm not saying that aptasia kills a seahorse. A large species of seahorse, it's not going to kill them. But like when I saw my female get stung in the face, and she was so upset, and she was like black for 2 weeks and pissed off. And I just think I got lucky that the tank was clean enough, good enough, whatever, that she didn't get a bacterial infection. I'm not at all saying that's what happened to her tank. I'm just saying if you can get rid of aptasia before you put your seahorses in, do it. And Chris, I don't disagree with the nudibranchs. I like peps. That's that's it.
Well,
Nudibranchs just take so long.
so so I would tell you, if you want to knock them out quick and you don't actually have that much, there's a new stuff called F aptasia.
Oh,
It's a bit different, um, than all the rest, because it actually, what it does is encapsulates it.
okay.
So
So you
what you're
don't, because
doing,
I'm going to interrupt you one more time to say, and Mermaid's Reef, I see your comment. I'm going to bring it up in a second. But yeah, my problem was I would try to feed it to them, but I'd poke them or something. They'd get pissed, and their spores would all come out. So tell me encapsulation.
so you're not, with this product, you're not actually like injecting it like you would with like all the other ones. You're not using a hypodermic needle. You're using just like a applicator.
Okay.
And so that applicator is actually putting out. I think it's like a cross between like a mix of kalkwasser and concrete, or
Wow.
like cement. Like the mixture of the two, because what it does is they shrink down when you start hitting them with it. Like they're freaking out. So you want to actually start with the oral disc, right? It's just to stop it from coming out, anything
Right.
from coming out. But then they shrink down because they don't like that. And then you just build up a layer around it and seal it in that hole.
But I
So you
thought
just
they
want to
could.
make
I thought
sure.
they could come out another hole.
It depends on how porous your rock is, of course.
I saw
But
a few people said to use super glue.
Yeah.
yeah, that's a pretty common method, and it's really kind of the same as like the F aptasia is. You're sealing them in to where essentially they won't be able to live because they don't get light or.
I'll just mention I use super glue too. And it didn't work for me. But I'm me, guys.
You do
So
that underwater, that sounds awfully hard. Like if you have one,
right.
you can't pull out of the water.
Right.
How do you use super glue underwater? Does it work?
I tried to put the super glue underwater. That may have been my mistake. And guys, you got to remember it's me. If something's working for you, I'm not knocking it. If it works for you, share it for sure. In fact, Mermaid's Reef said she uses peroxide to kill. Now tell me about that. That's very interesting because we Seahorse folks love peroxide. Have you
Oh,
guys heard of
folks, I
that?
gotta sign off here. I've got some things I want to do tonight,
Hey, Ray,
and
thank you for coming.
so we'll talk again.
Of
Hi.
course.
Good
We're,
night.
we're not going to go much longer. Thank you, Ray.
Oh, I found out why you couldn't see my posts, Ray.
Yeah?
We need to friend each other on Facebook. I may have accidentally posted them as friends only.
Oh, I
Like
see.
I was saying, and then even if I share it to the group, I think only my friends that are in the group can see it. I may have done that.
Ray
Oh.
doesn't like friends on Facebook.
I've got a few and it's too many.
I know.
The only reason I got on Facebook in the first place was just so I could talk with my siblings. Like, we're scattered all over the place, and it's just like my kids. I'm here in southwestern Ontario, and I've got kids all the way out in the East Coast.
Yeah.
So
And now you've got all us
basically,
friends.
that's why I got on the Facebook.
Comment. Make it public, Holly. Because I do that accidentally. I switch back and forth.
No, Ray, I know you have to go, but Holly, just please don't take offense. When I tried to friend Ray, he messaged me, and at first it was like, no. And then it was like, wait, let me tell you why. I just don't, it's family. Cheers,
Yeah,
Ray.
no, that's okay. But if you want to see, if there's something I can't see, you can't see. That's why. Just make a comment, say, Holly, I can't see it.
Well, I ended up, I had so damn many on there, and then
I know.
finally I just had to start going through and calling them because
I
I
got
have
called.
no interest in knowing, the personal things that all these people are doing, and
Right.
every
Yeah,
time
it
they
can be
made a post,
overwhelming.
I'd be getting a notification that they made a post and that, and it was just too
Yeah.
much. And
Ray can't do the foodies, okay? He can't do it.
No, my husband doesn't even go on there anymore, so I understand.
some of my siblings do too much posting.
Right. Someday, Ray, I'll teach you. You can make it to where you only see so many a time and all that. There's all sorts of tricks, but you go do what you got to do. We appreciate you coming, and we'll
I
see
think
you
at
next week.
78, I'm past the learning stage, especially when I've got the cognitive impairment as well.
Well, you got it
Anyhow.
down. You remind me of everything all the time, so you're great. We
Have a
appreciate
good
you.
evening.
Good night.
Safe, everybody.
Okay, Chris, what were you saying? Were you saying something? Oh, and Mermaid's Reef is telling us, but were you saying something, Chris,
Well,
or no?
I was just saying peroxide's an oxidizer, so it's gonna kill anything that's organic.
Really?
So
Now, see,
yeah.
I mean, I understand that because we use it in the tank in light doses to eliminate organics or lower organics with skimmer. And Mermaid's Reef says she uses a 5 milliliter syringe and just blast it in the hole it tries to hide in. Really? But how does that stop it from spewing out babies?
Yeah,
Is my
does it get
question.
mad?
Yeah.
I'm sure it gets mad, but I'm sure it's also oxidizing the babies as they come out.
Oh.
And
Look at me and Holly like, oh.
and their cells are so fragile at that point that they would probably die.
And now
I-
see.
I don't have experience with this, but I'm just assuming via science that's kind of the justification of how it works.
Mermaid's Reef, thank you so much. That's the thing I'm going to try next time if I get any more Aptasia for sure. I mean, my Pep's got it taken care of in my 65, but not with my new tank. You never know. Of course, I'll use dry stuff, but it might come in on Chris's Gorgonian. Go ahead, Chris.
As I always say, it doesn't matter who you get your coral from.
I know. I'm kidding.
Quarantine.
Yes, sir. And
I mean, that, by the way, includes your cleanup crew. If you have cleanup crew, you should be quarantining it.
Now, and we've talked about this before, but how do you suggest quarantining cleanup crew?
Well, first things first, most of them have shells, correct?
Right? Which stuff can come in on?
Scrub their shells with a very abrasive brush. I mean, like if it's a snail or anything like that, you want to try and get all that stuff off of them. So That's the biggest thing. And then on top of that, like just give them like 29 days to check, you know, how make sure there's nothing growing on them. Maybe clean them a couple of different times. So that way you can kind of see what's coming in on them. Because if it's just, you know, green speckled algae, it's not a big deal. But if it's, you know, aptasia or some kind of invasive macro or something like that, it's not something you want in your tank.
Right. And what we've talked about before, though, is with aptasia, something I personally noticed through my quarantining of macros and snails, funny enough, is that the time that I did it, just like leaving them and barely feeding them and just, you know, observing for 30 days or whatnot, um, may have been amiss, because what I noticed the next time when I like fed, then the aptasia doesn't come out till they're fed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so like use like a either piece of nori connected to a rock or
Good.
or like a wafer, like a algae wafer. Like a couple different Kari makes algae wafers, and so does New Life Spectrum. So you still want to feed them. You don't want to starve them out.
Right.
As a whole, like they're still animals.
Well, right, and not just, well, I honestly, I said that wrong. I was talking about like when I was just quarantining macros, I wasn't feeding.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then I realized you got to feed the tank because the aptasia won't come out unless it's getting fed. It was the point. Sorry, I kind of messed up that communication, but that's what I meant. I was just trying to make the
yeah.
point.
So yeah, with macros, I would still say dose a little bit of phosphates or nitrates, just because it's going to take them up, right? But it's also going to cause that kind of stuff to come out. The biggest thing though, like, is doing large water changes with them too, because remember, like, you're getting them and they've come out of the ocean and there's water in their shells, right?
Yeah.
So that water that's in their shells is also a place for any number of things like ick or Vibrio or any of those kind of things can come in.
Uranema.
Yeah, no, all that kind of stuff. You got to realize, like, most of these things are collected on beaches in these countries. So the beach is the skimmer, right? So if it's gonna come out of the water, it's gonna come out in the beach skimmer. So
True.
You want to try and be aware, at least. And
have we gotten any closer to you know, I'm Miss Captive Breeding, let's figure it out. And I understand that, like with dwarf seahorses and with snails and things like that, it's really hard to do that because of the cost related to captive breeding, or whatever you want to call it when it comes to snails. Can't compete with snails that you can buy for 10 cents or $1. But has anybody even tried, or is anybody coming close? Or because it'd be cool to have clean snails.
So ORA does have like captive bred snails.
Really?
I'm not sure that they have hermit crabs yet. I could be 100% wrong. I know 100% they have sea urchin.
Nice.
And you can get them down to like smaller than your pinky nail, like tiny little urchin. This is a size that they offer, like very, very small. Because I know Jamie, the guy who did the breeding of the coral, the year that we were at 2018, the guy who won the award, Jamie, I can't remember his last name.
I know who you're talking about.
They use those very, very small.
Yes, I just watched that video the other day of the Macna talk where the little teeny tiny urchins were the coral spawning. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so ORA is growing those.
Nice.
For that very purpose, to my knowledge.
Cheers to that.
But I know that they do snails 100%. I mean, you're paying a premium for a captive bred snail. But I mean, a lot of people I know have spawning events in just a regular tank. So
I know. Isn't that awesome?
um,
Can I just say our guest next week could talk about that too? Wink. Okay. Anyways, and I just wanted to say, Dylan's said, not blaming anyone. You thought the horses and coral were clean. You can't blame her because Aptasia. Oh gosh. And as he said, as Chris mentioned, and I'm not blaming you. I've had the same thing happen to my tanks for darn sure. But if you want to be
Aptasia will
sure,
come
you
in.
quarantine, right?
Aptasia will come in on macros. I know,
Sand,
like
anything.
in anything. I mean, like I know part of the reason. I mean, people have been giving Algae Barn real crap, right? Because they haven't had Chaeto available, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the reason they haven't had Chaeto available is because they had a pest issue. And
in their clean macro?
They had to, in their clean macro. So what they had to do is restart a system. Can you imagine having to restart a macro system that large?
I
It takes
can.
a very long time to grow out for a large breeding system.
Right.
So, yeah, they're just plain Chaeto is where they had a problem, to my understanding. So,
Well, A+ for them actually doing it instead of continuing to just sell. I mean, that's good.
Well, yeah, I think it would be really bad for them if they were selling clean Chaeto and then people were getting Aptasia.
Right.
Right. So I think they made the right call.
Yes.
In that. So, but yeah, no, like it's exciting, and I'm all for captive bred. My goal in this new tank is to have 100% captive bred only fish.
Nice.
And my intent is to not buy a clownfish.
Right. Are you, Jerry? I do see your comment, and I'm gonna say something about you before we go. But Chris, what's your plans for the tank?
So
aside from no clownfish.
It's going to be a 225 gallon display with a 150 gallon sump.
Nice.
A 10-foot long frag system, which is actually right here.
Hang on, let me make you big so you can show us real quick.
So this is my 10-foot long frag system.
Hang on, I gotta take Holly's. Hang on 1 second, Chris. I'm sorry, it takes me a second. Okay, now go ahead.
Let me switch cameras then.
All right, go ahead.
Easier to show you.
Sir.
Oh, you know what we were talking about earlier that I wanted to pipe in on was we were talking about super glue, right? And how you didn't say it worked under the water, right?
Oh, go ahead.
Well,
yeah.
Use either Polyp Lab or Coral super glue. It's specifically designed for underwater. So this is my 10-foot long frag system. So to go with the 225 gallon system, 10-foot long frag, and then and then we're doing a 24 by 36 ultra low flow. It's an ultra low flow system for very specific high-end softy coral. So I will probably be spending multiple thousands of dollars on softy corals with the intent of growing them out.
Wow.
So,
yeah. Okay, well, I'm not going to type it out.
Because I actually...
Go ahead, Chris.
Because I actually just did a frag show this last weekend. We had a local frag swap, which was interesting to have one first off in this time. So
yeah, so it was
really
full.
Well.
Was it masked and crazy or?
No, it wasn't crazy. So it was masked, and then you had to reserve time slots. So like you got a max of 2 hours to be in the show. There was only about 15 vendors, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't the most, and we had a pretty large hall. And you know, there were spots for people to stand. Yeah, there was X's on the ground, so you could wait, you know, your turn, and it It was actually really good, but I did actually sell as well, and I did really well, mainly selling bounce mushrooms
Nice, of course.
and some of my really 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 bright recordia.
Well, save all your good stuff for me in the new tank. But hey, guys, I know we're jumping around, but I have two things I've got to say before I'm trying to end this within 2 hours. I meant to make it one. But Chimp, hi, so glad you came in. Um, you recently set up an invert QT. I'd love to hear more about it, and if you want to share on the channel, come in a future Wine Wednesday and join and share with us. We'd love to see it or hear how you set it up and what's going on with it. Or if you have a link, feel free if you made your own video. And let's make sure I'm saying, if I say this improperly, I'm so sorry. But Ichtha Yo Stuff said, I respectfully disagree with the trend of trying to make everything so clean. It limits the biodiversity in our tanks. And then said, I believe with taking the good with the bad and finding natural competition to deal with these undesirables. And I have to say, I agree. First of all, I absolutely agree. However, in a seahorse tank, it's just, in my opinion, a little bit different. In my reef tank, I don't worry about Aptasia. I get peppermint shrimp. In my seahorse tank, where the peppermint shrimp can sting them and then they get a bacterial infection and then they die, not cool. It's just different for me. So I'd love to talk to you further. I welcome people that want to come in and have a conversation like the one you're starting right before we end. I'm so sorry. Because I would love to talk about that further because I am all about biodiversity. We talk about this endlessly. I'd love to have you join us sometime with Dan too, because he has thoughts and there's something to be said for both ways. Chris, are you trying to say something? I feel like you are.
No, I'm of almost of the other route. I run virtually. I mean, when I had my business, I mean, I did 90-day QT for fish.
Right.
So, I try and run as much of a biosecure system as possible. So,
well, when you're in
I completely understand where people are like the biodiversity, but most biodiversity nowadays you can buy in a bottle.
See, can you really though? That's, and we can't go on past 10, guys, but I'm saying, can you really, is a question, because I see both sides of this. I set up my seahorse tanks to be as clean as possible because the organics and the nutrients and all that stuff the nutrients that lead to organics end up hurting the seahorses. They can't handle it, their systems. So in a seahorse tank, you gotta have a skimmer. You gotta have super clean. People that set up natural seahorse tanks, if they're not in an area that supports it, like if you live in an area where you can have an outside tank and it's all natural, that's a different subject. But for somebody in Indiana, keeping a seahorse tank, I'm always gonna say keep it clean as you can, have a skimmer, have all this stuff. And I do add biodiversity in a bottle. So, I mean, that's a great topic for another day because for sure there's something to be said. And if you have kept a seahorse tank naturally with live rock, no quarantine, seahorses, no quarantine, fish, coral, whatever, no quarantine, I want to hear from you. I want to talk to you. I'd love to have that conversation because we just do the best we can to help newcomers figure it out. You know what I mean?
I will say this, my display tank was set up before I got the seahorses, but I've learned a lot on here since.
Oh shit.
But nothing that went into that tank was ever quarantined. Nothing.
Well, guess what? Dan's in the
Yeah.
waiting room, so go ahead.
But I will say this, just because you didn't do it that way from the beginning, don't think you're doomed or everything's going to go wrong and fail, because mine
Right.
didn't. I never really had issues, like that with a lot of, everything that came along, I was able to deal with. I
And
mean,
that's
yeah,
yeah.
came out of the live rock, and then you find out like the aptasia. What do I do about it? What do I do about the bristle worms? What there's solutions to all of it.
And
You
they're
can
all on Wine Wednesday, right?
you didn't do it doesn't mean everybody's gonna get killed and die. I mean, I think
Right.
probably, like I said, the first time I ever saw an aptasia, the tank had been established for close to 3 years.
Hmm.
And where I saw the aptasia was not in my display tank, it was on the face of a fry that I was raising.
Remember that?
Remember that?
Yes.
And I looked for the source, and they were growing on the sponge filter in the fry tank. And I had kept those sponge filters in the sump of my display tank.
Hmm.
So probably, like I said, there's some aptasia in there that I never saw because probably the
That's
peppermint shrimp are eating them or whatever. But somehow, however they reproduce had gotten in the sump.
yep.
But I never saw them there until after that time. Then I saw that one in the display tank,
Hmm.
way after the fact. But I mean, I haven't seen an outbreak of them. It's just, a couple of times I've seen them. But
Well,
yeah, the one was on the seahorse's face,
yep,
and
and
I
it didn't kill him, right?
yeah, and I took it. I pulled the little seahorse out of the water. It was a juvenile. It was only, about yay big, a couple inches, but he had
Hmm.
it like stuck to the side of his head. I pulled him out, and I actually watch the babies all the time. So I think that the aptasia had not been there very long was
Right.
key because I got it off with a tweezer. It was gone.
Well, and it was crawling on him. It wasn't stinging him. There's
It
a big
wasn't
difference in that.
stinging him. It was just there, and it was
Right.
open. It was doing its probably feeding and whatever, but
Freaking
it
weird.
It was
wasn't.
just touching it with his foot, which doesn't have stinging
Right.
tentacles.
Exactly.
Right.
He was just attached to the seahorse riding around, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you've got an aptasia on your face.
Well, no.
Yeah.
Hey, Holly, wait. Because I know Dan wants to say some things, and I'm so glad he's joined because I know he's so busy. But 2 points I want to make. The first thing you did right is not freak out. So anything we talk about in this channel, we try to
Well, I
give
did want to
solutions.
freak out.
Well, you're not supposed to say that out loud, Holly. Anyways, we try to give solutions on this channel, but there are solutions. You don't have to like freak out and destroy everything. We'll help you fix it if we can. And number 2, I forgot number 2. I'm so excited to hear what Dan has to say. That was number
Don't grab
2.
them with tweezers, I'll tell you that.
Don't grab them with tweezers for sure.
That
But no,
was
number 2 was for ichthyostoph. If I'm pronouncing that wrong, please correct me. But the thing is, I'm guessing maybe you're talking about a reef tank. And a reef tank and a seahorse tank, as we talk about all the time, are just different. Not harder, not better, just different. And with a
Yeah.
seahorse tank, you have to keep it clean. Go ahead, Holly,
Yeah.
and then Dan probably wants to talk because he joined.
I would
Kelly,
just-
I'm gonna go.
Chris, thank you for joining. I'm going to message you on the side about my take.
No problem. Bye.
Good night. Thanks.
I want to give Dan a chance to talk because I was getting ready to end it. So, are
You can edit it when you want to. It's no problem.
you okay?
How you
Yeah, I just
doing?
got a mouthful of gauze.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe you joined. I just was hoping before I do end it that I'm sure you haven't caught the whole thing, but how do you feel about someone saying a natural seahorse tank is better or natural tank is better?
It depends, because that can mean many different things.
Right.
In general, the seahorse tank, we take a different approach because of their immune system, which is different than regular fish. Seahorses don't have the same type of adaptive immunity. So if you look at historically, people who have kept seahorses for 5 to 10 years, their setups are a little bit different than that. They try to take a very clean approach to their setup and how they keep the tank.
You caught me trying to type. Absolutely. Um, absolutely great points. And I like feel terrible that you're even here talking because I know you have a mouthful of goss. But what I was just typing was, Iktha, if you want to come on and have this conversation about biodiversity versus, you know, cleanliness. Because and Dan, final thing, do you want to say why it's aside from their immunity and everything? Do you just see more people succeed when they keep a more sterile tank? Is that the bottom
Yeah,
line?
if you look at historical customers or people that have kept seahorses long term, and when I say long term, I'm talking about 5+ years, sometimes approaching 10 to 12 years. They run their tanks cooler. They are very careful what they put in there. They adhere very tightly to the recommended tank mates. They try to keep the bad bacterial counts down, and they don't treat it the same way you would with a regular reef tank. Um, I think with regular fish, as you know, like you, I agree. In many tanks, you can go that way, but in a seahorse tank, I haven't seen many people succeed taking that route long term.
Right, and someday I hope to get my friend Inland Reef 173 back on here, who is really wanting to try to do a seahorse pipefish and fish and reef tank, and I think she can succeed, but there's things like aptasia and things like because the setup's natural, so we're gonna help her,
What
but
exactly is meant by natural? I
that's
mean,
my word. Sorry.
yeah, so how, like, what specifically, does that mean you let stuff grow or you
Well, there's
don't
several things. There's
skimper?
the attitude of taking live rock. There's the attitude of taking dry rock. Different tank mates. How you go about cleaning your tank, what you run for filtration.
Mhm.
There's this can get quite complicated on exactly how you define it. And without definition, I can't argue the point.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's what I
That's why.
was like, I don't know exactly what is meant by that,
And when
really.
and when we say argue the point, it's a decent conversation where nobody ever gets mad. But
Right, right.
if you,
Debate. Okay,
yeah,
debate it.
debate. I would love that. I would love to have people that think that a natural, and I'm using the word natural. He did not. He or she. Sorry. But the original comment was, I believe, or I'm sorry, the original comment was, I believe, with taking the good with the bad and finding the natural competition to deal with the undesirables. Also said was, where was the first point? I'm missing it.
So that
Um,
sounds to me kind of like along the lines of using the peppermint shrimp to eat the aptasia. Yeah, yeah,
right.
I kind of take it like that.
There was a good. Oh no. The person said, I respectfully disagree with the trend of trying to make everything so clean it limits the biodiversity in our tanks. And I thought that was a good statement. But in a seahorse tank,
Well, by clean, is
it's
that
different.
removing algae or yeah, I still,
Again, you need context to be able to
yeah,
really discuss it.
So
yeah.
while I appreciate your thoughts. We invite you to come on the channel. Let's have a conversation about this because you probably have very valid points. And even if you're coming from a reef standpoint versus seahorse, it's still a conversation that we would love to have. Next week we have a special guest, but the week after we'd love to do that. Message me for sure. And Dan, I just want you, because you've joined, can't believe it. Um, yes, and yes, not tonight. I didn't mean tonight. Maybe in 2 weeks. Come message me. But Dan, did you want to anything you wanted to share about anything, or did you just join to hang?
No, I was trying to join, talk to you for a couple of minutes.
Okay. Well, I so appreciate it, and but I am gonna end it. You probably need me to more than I do. But okay, so and Faster Girl said pipefish should be as good as a tank mates, right? Um, I don't understand the question. I know you're inland mermaid. I've talked about you many times tonight. Ah. And I have your logo intro. Check your Instagram when we're done. But pipefish should be as a tank mates, right? it should be good as a tank mates. Tank mates for what? Seahorses? Dan, do you want to cover that real quick? Why you say no pipefish with seahorses?
Well, a couple of reasons. First of all, mixing signathids sometimes produces undesirable results in that for whatever reason you lose some or all end up getting sick. And we don't know exactly why. It's like mixing different species of seahorses when you mix different pipefish in. Now, having said that, some people have had success, just as some people have had success mixing species, but I let people use their own risk tolerance level in making that decision.
Right.
If it's captive bred, it's a better shot, but there's very few captive bred pipes available.
Right. And I would just add to that, because I know your experience and I'm determined to help you, my dear, that maybe like the pipefish with the reef and the clowns, and then the seahorses in another tank. However, as I say that, I really want to see you succeed with all of them in one. And if we can find a way, we will, because that is the future. We want to see things kept together, and we're going to have a conversation in 2 weeks, apparently, about biodiversity and etc. But I just, Dan, just to catch you up, she showed me that she had aptasia in her tank. Is that able to kill a seahorse?
Yes, directly no. The sting itself will be irritating, just like if we got stung by a bee or something. But what often happens is that it adds a level of stress to the seahorse, and given their immune system, that level of stress makes them more susceptible to bacterial infections following that. And
Absolutely.
I've had many customers that have lost seahorses and didn't understand why, only to find out they had a tank full of aptasia.
Right.
So the sting itself is not going to kill the seahorse. The sting is it may or may not create a wound. The problem is with the seahorse is that they instinctively take their tail and wrap it around whatever they touch.
Right.
And if there's aptasia there, they don't have enough sense to not do that. They just end up getting stung.
Absolutely. And so, my dear, I'm going to message you as soon as we're done at the after party, because we got to get rid of the aptasia, and we'll talk about the pipefish. I don't know if they're captive bred or not, but we're going to figure it out for you, because I want to see you succeed with seahorses. And with that, you want more questions, more information, join us next week. We have a special guest. The week after that, we're having a biodiversity conversation. So you guys, Holly and Dan, say goodnight before Dan falls out, or I do. And then we'll see you guys next week. Say bye.
Bye.
Happy Wine Wednesday, everyone. Cheers. Empty glass.